We're like, why? It's 7. Like, we're right on time.
Like, I know that there was a guy who changed it.
What could I maybe go to the Olympics for?
Gonna be fucking shit anyway.
Yeah.
Do you really want to be doing this? Like, I don't.
For what reason? Why?
Yeah. I'm so good at fucking triple jump.
Just jumping over.
Oh, that's like a little bit too much.
Literally, can you push good?
Oh my fucking God. Like, this is insane.
Fuck that, we're gonna get it done.
Welcome back to episode 4 of Done This Week podcast. What did you get done this week?
I'm just coming back from a trip. I actually went to a Tony Robbins event for 4 days. It was UPW, Unleash the Power Within. That was 4 days. Went with my little brother. It was in Dallas. And so coming back from that. And yeah, we hired one of our first sales reps at Foreplay, which is kind of cool. So we started this week. So one, super motivated from all the Tony Robbins stuff. One, it was like a masterclass on like in-person sales and like emotional triggers for like getting money out of people, which we'll like get into, and honestly kind of like sparked a lot of ideas for the sales hire. And then a lot of my time this week is spent just onboarding this new hire.
So event wise, what like how was it?
So this is the second time that I went to UPW. Both of them that I went to is in, so the way Tony Robbins works, he has obviously all of his content and he has his in-person events. And like UPW is kind of like the intro level event. It's like for, it's not like specific. Like he has like business mastery, he has life mastery, he has like health mastery. UPW is kind of just like it's like a taster of everything. But it's also very much focused around what you're essentially building up to is like eliminating limiting beliefs inside of your life and like figuring out why you think about certain things in a certain way, kind of like really mapping out your entire life to figure out where there's like gaps, whether it's like your health or like your finances or like relationship. And then it's also just like a lot of fun. The way that it kind of, also you walk across fire. So that's kind of like the headline thing is like you walk across hot coals, which is like cool and fun. And it's like an adrenaline rush. But yeah, it's a 4-day event. It's like almost 12 to 14 hours every single day. So you're pretty exhausted. But what's pretty crazy about being at the event is that you realize how like energy actually can be manipulated, like your actual personal energy. So you could be like sitting around doing nothing, like, or like writing notes, and you'd start getting tired like the way that you would in like class or, during a work day. And his like emotional and like room intelligence to figure out when like the energy's dropping, and he would like instantly start playing music. Everyone had to stand up, jump around and like whatever. And then you'd be like, wow, I have 10x more energy than I had 30 seconds ago, which was like a really cool thing to experience and get reminded of.
Right.
It made me buy a mini trampoline for the office.
To jump?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Even
he does
yesterday.
that every day.
Yeah.
So is the one you went to the one that that Netflix movie was
No,
based on?
so the Netflix one is a one about, it's called Date with Destiny.
Okay.
That one's much more focused around like your personal relationships and like that whole like side.
Right.
UPW is kind of just like it's like high level, your whole life, work, finances, limiting beliefs, and health is kind of like the curriculum.
Any like big epitomes?
What's kind of cool about it, so I went in 2019 where I had like a really big breakthrough that like felt heavy, and like since then I feel like I've become more of like an emotionally intelligent person, and like I have some of these like practices in my life to where like I don't get blindsided by stuff as much. And so in this one, like this time I went, it wasn't as like impactful. Part of it might have been that you've already kind of like done this, but I also think it was a bit of a testament to like, like some of the stuff that was new to me in 2019 just became part of my life. And so therefore, there wasn't as many blind spots. Like I think like some of the stuff was like kind of personal. I wouldn't get into it, but like high level one was I feel like I did have like a limiting belief that I couldn't be the best in the world at something. Like I definitely don't have self-confidence issues, but like I didn't think I definitely have a belief that I can't be like number one. Like I know I can be like very, very good, but like number one means like gold medal at the Olympics, right? Or like most valuable company in the world. And like there's a million versions of number one. And I feel like what I realized at this event was like, like I don't think I know that I can be number one at something, but I think deep down I have this like limiting belief that like, you can never be number one. Which I think there is like a huge leap from like being excellent to number one. Right. And so that was like an interesting kind of insight.
Right.
Like I don't know where that comes from. I was like trying to like work through it, And like I worked through like a decent amount where it was like one is like I never won like a crazy big sporting championship in my life. Like I was always part of sports teams, and like that's like all of my competitive nature comes from sports. And so I was always a part of sports teams that kind of like we went to the finals, or we would like lose in overtime. Like we were really good teams, but like we were never number one. And like part of me is like, oh, like how much of that, or like for and when I was in high school I went to like whatever the Ontario like wrestling championships. I got second place. So it's like there might be just like this condition into me that like, oh, like you're really good and like you're gonna be better than most people, but maybe you can't be number one. And so I'm gonna try to shift that.
Do you think like do you need to think you can be number one, and B, like is that even like a healthy way to think? Because like if you look at whoever's made, like let's say whatever, the biggest company in the world, did they think at the start or wherever in their journey I don't think it's at the start. See, and I don't think it's about like thinking that this specific thing, it's not like, oh, I'm doing this specific thing right now, I think I'd be number one. Right.
I think it's more of like a broader belief that like me as a person can be the best in the world at X.
Right.
And I think that's where like I think having that belief in yourself is going to yield better. Like obviously, like it's not good if you're ignorant about it.
Right.
Like I will not be the best basketball player in the world.
Right.
But like I think understanding that like, oh, you actually could be the best in the world at something, even if for like a very small period of time, would be good. Mm-hmm. It's better than the opposite belief, in my opinion.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
Oh, but okay, so let's get into like his fucking business. One, Tony Robbins is a fucking baller. He's been doing this, like, I am a big fan of Tony Robbins. I think a lot of the stuff he does is woo-woo. He definitely goes a little bit wider to like increase his TAM to include like normies and like shit like that.
Right.
So like there's that. But as like a sales and like conversion rate person, I was like sitting there being like, this motherfucker. So there's two specific moments that I was just like, wow, he's printing money. One of them, so this 4-day long event, on the third day is his last day that he's actually there. And he's hinting out throughout the whole day that like, I've got a big surprise for you guys tonight. I have a big surprise for you guys tonight. And he would just like drop it. And then at the end of the night, it was probably like 9 or 10 p.m. He goes, okay, I'm heading out, but the big, like I'm, and he like, I didn't actually stay. But he was like, they're flying in, it's a person, it's going to be cool. Like reminds me of Blown. So I'm like, oh, it's like some sort of act or something. And then he goes, it's going to happen in an hour, but if you guys want to go sign up for, it's called like Mastery University, which is like a package that's like $10,000. You can do that now. And so he puts you in this situation where you have this, you want to stick around because there's some sort of surprise.
Right.
If you don't go up to the table to spend the $10,000, you're now just sitting in a convention center for an hour at 9:30 or 10. There's also no food around. And so it's like even people are like, oh, I'm not going to sign up for Mastery University. I'm going to sit there. He's creating space for people to sit for an hour to be like, well, maybe I should, and like start questioning themselves, like, oh, like, and then they have all the social proof of like all these other people going up and paying for it, and then those people are like, are those people better than me? Like, are they making the right decision? I'm making the bad decision, and so it's just like, wow, like what a curated environment to like absolutely just drain people for money. Like it was just like so good.
So you bought it.
I was going to, I've always wanted to do it. Essentially it's like 4 in-person events throughout the year, whatever. And just 2 of the events I already have scheduling commitments. So like it literally didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But otherwise I would, because the one I really want to do is Life Mastery, which is in Fiji. It is like, he has like a resort in Fiji. And so I think that would be really cool. Because I would also say, anecdotally, when just like being at a Tony Robbins event, you can see like the Tony Robbins lifers. And the Tony Robbins lifers that are in their 60s look amazing. And like just like you're just like wow, you look incredible. And so it's like he definitely has, and he looks amazing too for being in his like mid 60s, you know, and also being like a large person. Like he weighs 290 pounds. He's 6'7". Like he has like a lot of parts of like those people usually break down, you know? And so I've always wanted to do is like his health one. And Liver King was actually there, which was kind of funny. He was in the crowd, so that was kind of interesting. But yeah, it was a good event. He also has this really cool offer, which is called Platinum Partners, which he essentially frames it as his chosen family or something. So $100,000 a year, you get access to all Tony Robbins events, and then he has quarterly trips for each ones, and it looks like fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I actually met a guy when we were actually living in Scottsdale that did it, and he was like, best money I ever spent in my life by far, but don't do it until after you sell a company, because like you can't do this properly unless you have all the time in the world. But it's actually really cool. Like he does these like finance events, and like in the past, like he had he flies in like Ray Dalio, and like it's like an intimate group, like 18, 19 people in a room at a ski resort in Whistler, and like you're just there for like 3 days with Ray Dalio, and he's like talking and like, so
That's awesome.
Yeah, really cool event. A lot of like learnings for myself, and also just like, wow, like what a goat in terms of like marketing and sales and
That whole like space.
He's
like he's
the
number
goat.
one. He's number
Any
one.
sort of life coach or something like that is currently out there is just a version of Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Like true stop. Like the moment you start doing Tony Robbins stuff, you realize that any other thing that's out there in the world is his shit. Like, so, and also just like a really cool representation of someone that's been doing one thing for his whole life. Like he started kind of like running seminars and stuff when he was 17 years old with Jim Rohn. Have you ever listened to Jim Rohn stuff?
Yeah, a lot.
So like Jim Rohn was like his
Tony Robbins.
his Tony Robbins. But and again, like Tony Robbins started when he was 17 years old, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. I hope I'll get some time to do some more of his stuff throughout, because like I'm also acutely aware that like he's not going to be here forever, and I feel like he's getting close to being done. And the people he has bringing up like second in command are just it's not the same. It's not the fucking same.
Yeah.
Thing. It's like, so yeah. What did you do this week?
So this week we have a new website launching, so I've been
Nice.
excited for that and just fixing every little edge case with it. I wanted to bring up, we had discussed Intro a few weeks ago. So I did my first call from Intro. It's with a guy that I'm forgetting his name right now, but he made a company called Swag Up, I think it's called. They bootstrap to $100 million a year, haven't raised a penny. Basically what they do is swag, but you can get it through an API call. So when you hire a new employee, automatically they get this box. When you get a new customer that spends like $8,000 or more, they get this sweater, whatever. So had a call with him, just like 30 minutes. So I'm breaking down the business, and his main advice was like, why don't you just email your customers that churned and ask them why they churned, and email your customers that are active right now and ask them what they like about Wizza. And I was like, yeah, but like, I already know why people churn, and I know there's problems we need to fix product wise. Like, I already know what those are, like whatever. But he kind of dug into it more, and I was like, all right, screw it. Like I've never, like people always talk about like talk to your customers, whatever. And like I do a lot of sales calls, and I listen to like multiple sales calls every week. But in terms of like someone canceling, I don't think I've ever actually reached out to someone that canceled. Like we've thrown up a survey, but I've never like spoken to them one-to-one. Have you?
I have, just because it's one, I have like a lot of people, we're in a lucky position where if like someone doesn't like something, I feel like that we have like a lot of communication channels to like talk with us. And so I get some inbound. One, I think it's like an incredibly important thing to do. Have you ever done the product market fit survey that the founder of Superhuman built?
No.
Okay. 100% do this. So the founder of Superhuman wrote this blog post about what product market fit really feels like. And he was obsessed about figuring out, okay, what's the formula for product market fit? And so the questions are around like, if you could no longer use Wizza anymore, would you feel mildly dissatisfied? And there's like these very pointed, specific questions that are not like, how do you like the tool? Like they're emotional feelings about the product and not like utility feelings about your product. And essentially when you send this out to your customers, he has like levels of product market fit. Of like, if 40% of your customers say this, then it's like you are kind of in product market fit, but this anyway. So I recommend doing that.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in like probably a year now, but when we hit around 500 customers, I think I did it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an issue with it that there's a bit of a bias as well, because like the people that
spend all that time to fill it out.
just fill it all the time. But again, like maybe he adjusted for some of that.
Right.
Yeah. And recently, like now, I brought out like a new head of operations, and he also believes that like everybody on the team should talk to customers. And so he's been setting up everybody on our team with customer calls, which I think is really, really cool. And like, we've gotten a ton of cool feedback. Like today, there was one company that is like, it's like a big conglomerate, and they have an in-office network. And so they were blocked. Apparently 4Play's getting blocked potentially because of like the name. And so they're like, so take this in, talk about product market fit. These motherfuckers have a girl that goes home, uses 4Play, and then like screenshots the boards and like puts them into the Slack channel and like uses her home Wi-Fi network because she can't access it on her which is like, funny. I'm like, wow, that's fucking crazy.
Maybe a secondary domain or something.
So that's what we were trying to figure out, but this is the first time it's came up.
Right.
And so I find it hard to believe. And
but how do you sign up if you're blocked?
That's
so
also
maybe
that's also true.
Yeah.
We haven't fully got to that's our leading theory.
Right.
But we're also like, yeah, how do they even like sign up? Or I guess they might have sought out phone. I don't know.
Right.
I feel like we would have heard about this
more,
but
yeah, it has to be a pretty strict network.
Yeah.
Our biggest one, it was so funny because I do know that there are reasons people cancel, especially in our space. Like people a lot of times like find leads for a project and whatever, then they don't need it anymore. And I knew like a lot of the reasons, but like half the emails we've gotten back have been like, yeah, we canceled because your phone numbers suck. And two things. One, I didn't know our phone numbers sucked.
Okay.
I knew that phone numbers are really hard to figure out on people, and our email data is really good, but like brutally honest, there are better phone number providers out there, and we've said that on calls. But most people from like a sales call just say like, yeah, we don't care that much about phones. Like no one cold calls these days. So I was just like, whatever, like people don't really care about phone numbers. It's not like a reason that someone's canceling. So it's like they've always been in the back of my mind. And also like a lot of our competitors don't even have phone numbers. So I was like, whatever. So it was just like crazy to me to see the amount of people that have canceled because of phone number data. And it's like something we can drastically improve like pretty easily that like would have never come to my mind for probably like years. So
how much did the call cost with the guy from Intro?
I think it was $250 for 30 minutes.
So that's easy. If it like saves you one customer, then
yeah.
It's like, so maybe.
Well, yeah. Like, I mean, have you done the math ever on like dropping churn rates and where that?
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's
insane.
Like,
yeah,
it makes, especially now we're kind of at this point where our churn is even with our new customers per month. And so like dropping our churn by like 10% would like double the business over an extended period of time.
Right.
But not 10% drop in churn, like 10% lower than what it is now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'll keep you posted on how it goes.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So this is a good, nice transition. Your main customer base is salespeople. We've always been like very product led. I take product demos. But essentially I put a demo button on our website. I instantly started getting like flooded with demo calls, and my life quickly became hell of just like sitting on demos all day. Cause like I would see like companies come through. I'm like, I have to get on a call with these guys. Like they're fucking huge. And so we went out, found our first AE, who actually used to be like a user of 4Play, which is really nice and easy because we don't need to train on the product and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't think I'm a great salesperson. And I'm like I've been leaning on you quite a bit on like kind of guiding on like how we should move into having like a sales led process, or at least having a part of it. Okay. So what I want from you is to tell me the top 3 ways or the top 3 tips and secrets to scaling a SaaS company with sales, direct sales, booking demos, things like that.
Okay. So the first that comes to mind is there is a company called Gong, and what they do is they record sales calls and they garner like insights from it, and they publish it all for free on their blog. One of the biggest learnings we had from it was the best sales demos that are most likely to close, the rep spends 50% of the time speaking and the prospect spends 50% of the time speaking. When we looked at ours, we were like 90-10. It was like a little bit of small talk at the start, and then, okay, here's Wizza for like an hour, and then like, do you have any questions? Here's pricing.
Do your demos take an hour?
No, they're 30 minutes. But yeah, like the product demo maybe took 20 minutes, that portion of it. So very little like back and forth. How we fixed it was obviously discovery. So this would probably be my most important tip, is to nail discovery. So discovery is that portion of the sales demo at the start where you're figuring out, why did the customer come to you? What problem they have, how they're currently solving that problem or not solving that problem, what other options they're exploring, maybe sometimes what type of budget they have for something like this. But the key is really like, what's your process right now? Because you can dig into that later when you're following up, when you're showing it, and what are you looking to achieve? What that lets you do is tailor the entire rest of that sales call. So in your case, if someone says, hey, if they're like, we can't find ad inspiration anywhere and we don't really do much of it, and this is that's a totally different demo than someone that's like, oh, we're on Facebook ad library every day. We just have no way of saving the ads.
Right.
Because then it's just
there's
totally
like different
different
magic moments for those
those people. Yeah. And even just like what they're gonna find value in. Like that person that's so familiar with Facebook ad library, if you show them, hey, you can sort it by the longest running ads, something that whereas with someone that doesn't use Facebook ad library much, that's like, what the hell does that mean? Because okay, they're longest running, they're old, like, so they might not know the value in that, and maybe you can educate more on that, as well as like the other tools they're using right now. If they're like, yeah, we take screenshots and we bring it into Google Drive, then it's like, oh, so what do you do if you have a video? Right. It's like, oh, we link to it. It's like, oh, do you ever go back to that link and the ad's gone? It's like, yeah, that happens all the time. It's like a pain point they didn't even know. Right. So anyway, discovery, I think is the most important piece. So just making sure there's like very pointed questions that can shape the rest of that demo call, having a 50-50 split between the sales rep and the prospect. One way we did that is just pauses for questions. And so many times when you're talking, you just assume that people will just put their hand up and ask a question, but it's not until you actually like take a pause there and allow them to actually ask the question, because people will say like, oh, I got to ask about this later, I'm not sure how this works, and they just forget. So yeah, pausing for questions, leaning back on those pain points. And then the third one I would say is around like, it's more around pricing and packaging. I think when you're building out a sales team initially, there has to be a core offer at the end of it. We made the mistake because we're credit based and we have all these different ways you can get a Wizza plan, that we'd finish the call and be like, okay, so like, how many email credits do you think you might use per month per rep? And it's just like, it's just very confusing and it's tough. It's like, how many users would use this? It's like, okay, let me go back and talk with the team and see who wants this. So I would try to eliminate that packaging phase to be the most simple. Hey, most of our enterprise customers start with this. You get this for a year. It's 5 seats. It's this. If you need more, it's this much. But like, here's the offer, and I'll send it to you as a quote. And if you need any adjustments, you can, just let me know, because it just makes it so much easier for that person to say yes.
I actually this week, I've had people say that, oh, I'm going to sign up today, but I've never been good at asking for like the credit card on the phone. This week I was like the first. I'm like, I've always hedged it in a way that's like, that's not me. But now that I hired a sales guy, I'm like, I want this motherfucker asking for credit card on the phone. Right. And so I've been taking all the calls again this week, and he's just sitting in on them. And so I've like been asking. It's like super uncomfortable for me because I'm so like not good at like selling. Like I like telling you about the product, and like I'm not great at like asking for the sale. And so I've been doing that this week, which has been it's been interesting. And I closed it. And the guy's like, yeah, like, send me the link. Yeah. And then he's just like, and I was like, this is awesome. And I'm like, I don't want to start taking sales calls again if I can just be like collecting like cash like this.
That's what makes sales so fun, is like, or when you're managing the pipeline and following up and you get a deal. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels amazing. But I will say, because you mentioned that, one thing you're going to find at 100% is that the reps you bring on are going to be way worse than you at that product part, like way worse, even if they're like lifetime sales reps, but better at those other like sales pieces. So the call quality, if you watched it back, you might actually think is a lot worse.
But the close rate will be.
Yeah, the close rate will be higher, and with time and with time they'll get better. What I would do is record a bunch of your demos and let them watch and sit in on your demos and kind of like tag team where, hey, you do the discovery, I'll do the product demo. This is what we did. And then at the end of the demo, if you want to present the packaging and whatever.
Here's a question. Do you think that sales demos, there's like a world in which like an AI agent starts being your sales rep? Like, have you seen those videos of people like they'll be like taking a job interview with like this screen
I
off to
love
the
that
side?
video.
That's such a good video.
I was howling at that.
It's
video.
It's an amazing video of this guy. He's like taking a job interview, and then the AI is just like feeding him the answers.
And not only just a job interview, it's like he's like an aerospace engineer.
Yeah. So like, okay, if AI can win an aerospace engineering interview, it's like, could they also overcome any sort of sales objection?
Yeah.
Could they and like now AI voices are really, really good. Like,
yeah, that's actually
webcams are actually pretty shit. And so like, if you actually just had a rendered video in front of you, it would probably be like a better like there's a good looking person.
It just starts with like, hey guys, I'm so sorry, but I got to turn my camera off. My laptop's been giving me problems.
Right. I think the camera will be the easiest part. And like,
Yeah.
no, to be crazier is like, if like part of your prospecting process is like you start scraping like their social media profiles to see what content they like. So it's like if they're liking a bunch of blondes, it's like the sales rep is blonde. It's just like it's just the highest converting AI sales rep ever.
That's actually that's a great. The
I think
only problem
I think it should be your next company.
I would do something like that. The only problem is once people know about it, you're gonna join a sales call and be like, "Are you bot or real? Hold up four finger, like whatever." Like,
here's the question. Okay, but why
does it matter?
Why are people getting on sales calls? Because they have questions that need to be answered, and they have what I've noticed also. It's just like there's companies that have a quote unquote procurement process in which they need to get on calls with people
right,
and like ask some bullshit question that's available on your website. And so I think for a lot of people, I don't know, I don't like getting on sales calls. Like if I have to go to a software company and have to get on a sales call,
yeah,
I'm
that's
pissed,
a pain. Yeah,
right. And so if it's a robot or it's whatever, like it's
like,
it's gonna be fucking shit anyway.
Yeah.
Do you really want to be doing this? Like I don't.
At least maybe you can 1.5x it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like imagine you could just 1 point, and you wouldn't also feel bad if like halfway. Okay, here's the thing: you're halfway through the call, you realize this definitely is not for me. Like you don't really need one. You don't need to have the courage to be like, hey, you stop. This isn't for me, and then you have to deal with this guy being like, whatever, clawing at you to try to keep you around. It's like, oh, like not. For me.
And it could be anytime.
It could be anytime. That's our biggest issue too right now is like we have a lot of like we sell everywhere, right? So we have people that want to have demos in the middle of the night.
Right.
Do you guys have like an overseas rep or anything?
No. But our reps will take a call like at night at home.
Right.
Or early.
Yeah, anyway, I'm excited for the sales thing. We'll use Wizza to scrape some leads.
Yeah. So you know the way in the Olympics when they do the high jump, the way that they jump over the bar?
Not just in the Olympics. I've high jumped a good amount in my life.
They do high jumping outside of the Olympics?
Yeah, you never did high jump?
No, I mean I think I messed around with it, but I didn't do track.
Oh, dude.
Were you good?
I did high jump. I actually my niche one, it's also like so like the thing that I'm good at is like I'm
high
really
jump?
No, it's fucking triple jump.
Okay.
I'm so good at fucking triple jump. Like
is that the one in the sand?
yeah, like long jump and triple jump happen the same thing. But
Okay.
triple jump is like it's a hop, skip, and then jump rather than just like run and jump. And I was really good like from like grade like 2 or 3 whenever we start track and field. I was like really good at triple jump.
Track and field is just so strange to me. Like it's such a strange myriad of like events.
I feel like it's kind of like I like it because it's like a combination of athletics and then a test. Like it's just like they're just
like
consistent
test.
tests, which like I really like. It's like super binary. Like there's not like the issue is, I guess no track and field's all pretty binary. Bullshit ones are like fucking, what's it called? Gymnastics when there's like judges. I think sports with judges aren't sports.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
They
who's
can't.
judging?
Exactly. Who's judging? I
So-
mean,
except for maybe
then
boxing.
you could say boxing isn't a sport.
Yeah.
But even okay, I think if a boxing match ends by decision, like there's always people that are like, that's bullshit decision. But if
Right.
someone like doesn't jump over the bar, they're like, no one's like,
Right.
that bar fell easier, like, you know?
There was less wind.
Yeah.
Okay, but do you know the story of why people jump the way they jump in the high jump?
I
just said
know
jump.
I know a little bit about it. Like I know that there was a guy who changed it.
Yeah. Honestly, like I think I had heard this story years ago, and somehow it came up on my Twitter or something, and I just like reread the story, and it's honestly just such a good story. Like there's just something about it. So this guy Dick Fosbury,
Good name.
yeah, great name to set a high jump record. He like comically sucks at the high jump, which is like the best part of this story, and just like his tenacity to be good at it rather than being like, oh, I'm gonna just go try the triple jump. So he sucks at high jump. One day his friends bet him that he couldn't jump over like a lawn chair, and he couldn't, and he fell and broke his hand. So it's
Okay.
like the guy sucks at jumping.
Have you seen the video of Bill Gates trying to jumping over the chair?
No.
Okay. We'll
We'll clip it in.
bookmark that. There's a video of Bill Gates jumping over a chair. Incredible.
Oh my God. Over?
Over.
He makes it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dick Fosbury could not.
Could not make it. Okay.
So anyway, so he's involved in track and field, whatever. He keeps like getting slightly better at high jump, but he's obviously not very good at it. He's in school for engineering. And he realizes that if he jumps backwards, I'm not an engineer, but something to do with the center of mass being in a different location, you can actually jump higher if you get this like technique right. So whatever, he's getting laughed at because everyone's just jumping over the bar normally, and he's like flying over it backwards.
Oh, this is the they have a name for this. Isn't it called the Fosbury flop?
It's called the Fosbury flop. Yeah.
I remember when I was in high school, they taught it, or even elementary school, they taught us both of them. There was like the scissor and then the Fosbury flop.
Fosbury flop. So yeah, I don't even think, I'm not sure if the scissor existed. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it did.
How were people doing it before? The Fosbury flop.
Just jumping over.
No, they're doing the scissor.
Okay, I don't know what the scissor is. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you were probably, they were probably doing the scissor. So he's doing this Fosbury flop, whatever, especially if you're the first time ever doing it, like people are probably laughing at you. But he gets good. He ends up making it to the Olympics in Mexico City in 1968. And he ends up winning the gold medal with this Fosbury flop. First time it's ever been seen before. And he only competed in the Olympics once that year. Never came back, like just beat it and kind of just like disappeared and went on to engineering. Also, another thing cool about him.
So wait, he went to the Olympics, won the gold medal, and then it was just like, I'm done?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
He didn't go to the opening ceremony because he wanted to go see Mexico City. So he wasn't
I fucking love this guy.
I know. He was just
Is he still around?
He actually just died this year when I was
Fuck,
researching
dude.
this. Yeah. What, you wanted to grab a beer with him?
Dude, this guy seems like the most top G guy in the entire fucking world.
Skipped the opening ceremony and then skipped all of practice.
Because he just had a new
He
technique.
just wasn't practicing.
Wow.
And then he goes, beats it, totally changes the sport. And the high jump to this day, everyone does the Fosbury flop.
Wow.
What a story.
That is amazing. I remember there was a few months ago, I guess maybe almost now, a few years ago, where you and I talked about going to the Olympics.
Yes.
We were like pretty convinced. I mean, I think one of the lamest things we ever did was not follow through on this like chain of thing, because I think we could have went to the Olympics.
Yes.
Our idea was like we would just dedicate most of our lives. We looked it up. It was a math problem. We needed to gain like 30 to 40 pounds of muscle.
Yeah,
And
well,
like-
so the sport was bobsledding.
The sport was bobsledding, and the Canadian bobsled team is notorious for having a bunch of people on it that were not previous. Like nobody grew up as a bobsled.
Yeah, so that was my first epiphany with it. It was actually in like high school that I was like, what could I maybe go to the Olympics for? So I'm just kind of looking around and I'm like, bobsledding, like you're just kind of sitting there in a cart, like,
Right.
and some guys push you at the start. Like to push someone, you're at the Olympics, you could get a medal and you just like do a pushing motion. Like seems like a bench press to me. So I'm looking into it, and the way that you actually get approved is especially at that young age, is based on your like bench press, squat, deadlift, and a few other things like box jump. And like, so it's just like literally, can you push good? And so
yeah, there's not much skill. There was like, it's like a math and like genetics problem. Is essentially what you're fighting against. So like you could find yourself in a situation where the genetics, like, you just don't have the genetics.
Short
you're too
like
short, or you can't produce enough, whatever, or like something. But I mean, we probably spent like a couple hours like researching this, like over the course of like a good amount of time. We were like, yeah, like we could definitely do this. We just need to dedicate a lot of time. We need to gain weight. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with this, but I mean, I still would want to do it, but we're slowly reaching our.
Are we too old? We're past our peak bobsledding age.
I think we need 24 months to actually make it happen physically. Like, I think we would need 24 months to probably more time for me than yourself to like get to that shape. Like, I think we probably can do it in 2 years, and so that would put me at 29, and it would put you at 27, 28. Depending what time of the year it is. So like, yeah, like if we were going to do this, we would have to do this like somewhat soon.
We got to get on it.
But I think maybe this like circles back to me wanting to be the best in the world. Like, imagine we won a gold medal for bobsledding. Wow.
I mean, that would be a pretty cool side.
I just think going to the Olympics would be fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't care.
No one can take that away
from
from
you.
you.
Medal.
No one can take away from you. I wonder what else we could do. I mean, the only other thing is like, you got to figure out some way to get into the Paralympics or something. And like,
right.
But that seems like cheating because I don't think I belong to the Paralympics.
Yeah, well, maybe.
If you ask my friends, they have a different answer.
Maybe we can Fosbury flop it.
Maybe people have been doing
bobsledding
all wrong the entire time.
Maybe we should put the sled backwards.
Okay, I think you're trying too much inspiration from the flop. I mean, I think then if we were living in a place. Oh, that was the other piece, is that we needed to move somewhere.
I think it was in BC is where the bobsledding.
BC or Alberta, I think there was an option, or we could do Lake Placid, Michigan.
That could work.
It's actually a nice place. I had a hockey tournament when I was a kid in Lake Placid. It's a beautiful place. I also, the 2 nights ago, I had an all-nighter. I was like obsessed. And I was trying to build our own GPT because I was just like, okay, this is something new that came out. I'm going to start doing this. So these are interesting findings that I found in building the GPT. I was getting a lot worse results than just using chat. So it was like, it seemed like I couldn't harness the full.
Right. You were like limiting it rather than.
It felt the GPT, like, not even because it's less expansive in terms of where you could take it, actually in like word for word outputs between the two of them. Like it was almost like there was like pieces missing. Which kind of pissed me off. But I also, and so in that same night when I was trying to build this all in a night, I also was like, okay, I need to book a flight because I'm going to Thailand in December. And so I started like the process of like booking flights, and I was just like, wow, this is fucking horrible. Like, I hate booking travel because it's like a million amount of decisions, and they're all conditional. It's like, okay, do I want to leave in the morning on the 3rd of December or the afternoon? It's like, well, it's kind of conditional on when it lands. But then I was also like, there's also a condition. So there's these websites you can go on that will tell you the jet lag impact of certain flights and like where you leave for like the time zone versus whatever. And so I'm like, part of me was like, I want a GPT that I can like ask the question, like, which flight should I take? But then be like, okay, if you were to account for the least impact on like jet lag, which flight would it be? And like that I could, and then you make the decision based on price plus jet lag or like something like that. But it's to do this all separately. I had like a bunch of tabs, and then I ended up, and then it was also like, I had also other questions being like, okay, like I was like thinking about like booking first class because it's like a 20-hour flight. And so I was like, okay, for this Thai air flight, does this include lay down? Because therefore then the price is potentially okay. But if it's like just a bigger seat, then it's not worth the price. And like, I had to go like researching all the planes. And like, I was like, wow, to actually make a proper decision about this with like the level of neuroticism that I wanted to, it was like way too much work, in which I thought could be easily mitigated from ChatGPT. I know everyone's been talking about ChatGPT travel agents, but I was like, I actually lived it, and I really like thought about it. I was like, wow, this would be so much better.
Yeah, you could almost have like a personality survey at the start. It's like, how much do you value this or this? Or like you do it one time.
Where do you currently have points? Like,
Right.
and then it's also like, oh, you can transfer your American Express points
It
to British
knows
Airways.
that.
That means that you can now get, instead of this shitty first class flight, you get this one that has laydowns. You just need to spend the points, and you have to transfer them to make it work. Like,
it remembers.
yeah,
Like,
it remembers. Like, you can literally just like link up everything and understand it. Because also the UI of all of these travel platforms, like, I've been like mind blown by being like, travel is such a massive industry. It's been like everybody books travel online now, and everything feels like shit. Like, the only website that I think is travel centric that feels good for me is Airbnb. Like, Airbnb, like, I've never had any issues. Like, trying to book their credit card platforms like Amex or RBC, like, they'll have like crazy front end bug issues.
Yeah, those
like
are
insane front end bug issues.
Any financial company that's ever made a website, it sucks.
Yeah, but even like these like people who like their whole, like Expedia, like their whole thing, and like I was having this bug with Expedia where it kept redirecting me to the French site, and like I even like created a new account, wiped my cookies, went onto incognito, and I was having these issues, and I was just like, man, these companies are just like there's been multiple times when I get like a front end bug fix, I'm like, fuck, I'll just like go and like get it on Google Flights.
Yeah,
Which like I don't like Google Flights all the time because then it like redirects you to a website. There's this other bug that drives me fucking insane where it's like, if you're on Google Flights booking an American Airlines flight in Canada, it redirects you to the American Airlines website. And then it takes you through the whole process. And by the end of it, when you have to put in your billing address, if you don't have a US billing address, you can't book the flight. And I've done this 5 or 6 times.
It's terrible.
And it's just like, oh my fucking God. Like, this is insane. Like, and like, these aren't like low ticket things, you know?
Yeah.
Like if they optimize these and just get these like, and just like figure these out. But I guess you could also say that like every flight you go on now is like completely booked out. So like, why do they even care?
Yeah.
They don't have a shortage.
It's a commodity.
Yeah, like
we're not out of customers.
Yeah, we're not out of customers.
I mean, I think like, yeah, the flight is fine. Like, it depends what you're doing, but when you have a lot of pieces tied together, it's just like, oh, yeah, it's rough.
I've also like completely given up on planning in advance for flights. I look back on one, I have like a bunch of like airline credits from cancellations that whatever. And like getting airline credits to be converted into anything that's like a value is impossible. Like, you have to call in, it's like through a partner. Like, it's just like, okay, this is just, I'm just going to burn this money.
Right.
And I look back on like the whole year, and I've traveled a lot this year, and like the amount of times when I just like didn't take a return flight because an opportunity came up, it's just like way too many. So now like I'm not booking return flights anymore until I'm in the destination.
Dude, same.
And I'm not, and but I'll book like outbound flights. 'Cause I'm like, okay, I need to be here for this time.
Yeah.
But
No, I pretty much only book one way, and I'll only book like a week in advance.
right. And
Like
it's just
the
the amount of times I've had to cancel, and it's just like,
Yeah, it doesn't.
or like you can't even cancel, and it's like, okay, it's gone.
Yeah.
The other thing that drives me insane, this is just becoming a rant about travel, but like, it's crazy. Have you ever booked like a multi-city flight?
Yeah.
Dude, I made the mistake once that if you don't get on, so I booked a multi-city flight, let's just say like Toronto to London to Dubai, with like a big gap. Like, let's just say a 3-day gap in London. One time I didn't get on the flight. Like, I went earlier. I think that's actually what it was. I went earlier than my original multi-city flight. I flew to London like a few days early. And then I was in London being like, oh, I can just get on my flight from London to Dubai.
It cancels.
Dude, if you don't get on the first flight, it cancels the rest.
Yeah, there's just random
By
rules.
default. It's like, what? By default.
Even on a round trip, doesn't have to be a multi-city. If you had a round trip to Florida, and then you're like, screw it, I'll drive to Florida, and then you want to get on the way back, no, it's been canceled.
Dude, absolute.
For what reason?
Up and
Why?
Yeah. I mean, they could make the like. Yeah. Fuck airlines. Fuck planes.
There's so many rules. It's like, well, I mean, the first time I traveled, I didn't know that the flight time.
Oh, this is my favorite story.
The flight time was not when you have to show up at the gate. So the flight was at like 7 p.m. and me and our mutual friend show up at the gate at 7 p.m. and they're like, where have you been? We've been calling for you. We're like, oh, we had headphones on. They're like, your flight left. And we're like, why? It's 7. Like, we're right on time. But we were like 15. But like, no one tells you that. Like,
yeah, just got to figure it out with your life. Okay, you've been talking about this idea for a while now, and we've had this mutual idea of like a peer-to-peer gambling app.
Yes.
So do you want to get into that?
Yeah. So this honestly keeps popping into my head every couple of months. Peer-to-peer gambling app where the main premise is, you know, obviously you can go and bet on sports online right now, But if we say, I bet you it's raining outside right now, and we want to bet $20 on that, it basically has to be cash. It hasn't been like modernized or whatever. And so my first idea was from that, where like both people agree to a bet, me and him agree, it charges our credit card. It basically goes into escrow, the $40, both our 20s. And on the end, we both agree and say, okay, Zach won, money gets released to his account. Then, you know, as you kind of think about it more, you could step that up even further to like markets where you say, hey, I think Donald Trump's gonna win the presidency. I'm willing to put up to like 10 grand on this at a 2x thing. And then people can like eBay buy like a chunk of that. Like, oh, I don't think that'll happen, $20, whatever. And start to like fill these bets, almost like a GoFundMe for like gambling.
Okay.
So I think that's cool. The other thing that's cool is like, and then it's verified by this peer-to-peer betting site, like what actually occurred.
I was even thinking when I was thinking through this idea. So like I've heard this idea from 6 to 7 people, and all of them look and sound like us. And so I think it is like potentially like a niche market.
Yeah.
But I've also heard it like a bunch of people that want to make this. I've also thought it'd be cool to be able to delegate like a third party as the person that validates. So
Right.
like, let's just say like you and I bet on something, we like delegated a podcast producer, and like you are wholeheartedly, you know, deciding whether like who the payout goes to. But I'm not a big, I don't love watching sports. I love playing sports. I hate watching it. So I've never been like a big sports gambler, but I do like gambling with like friends about random shit.
Right.
Like, will the flight leave on time? Like that
Right.
makes your trip at the airport so much better.
Load it in,
And it's just like,
$100.
boom.
It would be fun.
I think it'd be a ton of fun. And I actually know a guy that was like starting to build this out. He's based in London. Funny enough, that trip I was talking about, it was like I was visiting him there, and they were working on it. I think they raised a bit of money, but I don't know what the laws are around it. Like obviously it depends on place to place, but
so this is what I was just gonna say. I was like, yeah, it's a cool idea, but like the gambling industry is such a mess. You got to deal with governments and regulations, and forget it. I watched a guy's video maybe a year ago that completely shifted my thinking on that. And his point was like, eat your customers' complexity, which is basically the first instinct of like any entrepreneur, I think, when they hear like an overly complex thing like business regulations and government is like, oh, that's like a messy business. I don't want to be in there. If you actually think about it, it's actually a free moat
right,
given by that market, as
people
like,
aren't going to do it.
yeah, people aren't. If you make a new cigarette company, there's so many rules and whatever that now that you're in there, like it's tough for others to compete. It costs a lot of money. So like, yeah, it's so much easier to pick like the super easy, quick to launch business that doesn't have any like regulations, and you'll get to market faster, but you can have people copying you just as easily. So there's something to be said for these type of businesses that are regulatory, and like Uber and Airbnb that like, yeah, they went through like, you know how much Uber had to go through in every single city to be around, but now that they're there, like they're the one.
Right.
So recently I've been thinking about that as I think of like ideas of like not to shy away from complexity and to actually see it as like a plus to a business.
That's an interesting insight. I like that a lot. There's a few things like features that I've been wanting to build recently that I'm like, oh, that's like a little bit too much. But like maybe that's actually like where you should lean in rather than like be like,
I love the way you just said that.
What?
Oh, that's a little too much.
No, like just in like, it seems like the solution to the problem is like so much more complex than the value it provides sometimes. But in that discrepancy is potentially where like there's actually like that's actually maybe where value creation kind of exists.
Yeah. The example he gave was Amazon, and he was like, you know, think about the complexity of building Amazon just for next day delivery. Like anywhere can give you 4 or 5 day delivery, which is pretty good. But to get to next day delivery, they had to have their own trucks, They basically had to build a new FedEx. Like they had to completely build a shipping company. And you would think like, oh, it's too complex just to get their customers something 2 days earlier. But now that they've gone through that, what do you think of when you hear next day shipping? Amazon Prime. So it's interesting.
I'm into it.
Have you heard of a website called Charity Buzz?
I have not heard of a website called
Oh,
Charity
good.
Buzz.
That's perfect.
Okay.
This would be a boring conversation if you had. So I had a friend use it in the past, but it had kind of escaped my mind. And then someone that worked there reached out to me on LinkedIn today. So I went back to Charity Buzz. Charity Buzz is basically a marketplace for unique experiences where what you pay for it and what you auction on these like different experiences all goes to charity.
I've heard of this site.
Yeah, I might have mentioned.
You mentioned it to
before.
me. I did not know the name of Charity Buzz.
So I went on it today. There's all kinds of stuff. There's like the one who's Jesse Itzler.
Mm-hmm.
There's courtside tickets to a Hawks game with Jesse Itzler.
How much does that cost? Or it's an auction?
It's an auction.
Okay.
I think the estimated value is $7,500 for that. Aren't
courtside tickets more than $7,500?
I don't know what it's like in Atlanta. In Toronto, it's like probably $5,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it might go for more than that probably. But yeah, it probably won't go above like $10,000. They're not that crazy. One of them was like, Mark Cuban will follow you on Instagram for like $2,000. And I'm like, that's kind of valuable. Like
those are also like kind of cool gifts.
Yeah, they're definitely cool gifts. But I think where they really have success is that I'm not an accountant, but it sounds to me like it's a full tax write-off, like a charitable gift write-off, because it's very much written as like, this is a gift. This is a charity donation.
Mark Cuban's not getting the money.
Mark Cuban's not getting the money. It's going directly to the charity. He's doing it because he gets to donate to charity for free. Maybe he gets the tax write-off as well.
I wonder if he's getting, there's no way they're double dipping the tax write-off.
That's true.
But maybe they're splitting it, or maybe there's
I don't know.
You should go into the account, get one of these things, and then see like when you request for the tax receipt, see what they actually do.
Yeah.
Because it'd be interesting to see too. Like imagine if like Mark Cuban is just following people on Instagram and like every time just getting a $2,000 tax write-off.
Yeah.
That's like
it could
fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of cool ones. There's like a Super Bowl experience at Las Vegas with like just like these very specific experiences that like you can't just buy easily. And it's a write-off, and so
which one when you're on there is like, this is the one I want? Was there anything? I mean, knowing you, if you saw it, you would have had it already.
Well, you gotta wait till the auction ends. But honestly, like there's a lot of celebrity stuff, and I'm not a big like celebrity guy. Right. And so like a lot of the values prices are inflated because it's like with this, do this with this guy. It's like, okay, well, like I don't want to do it with this guy. I kind of just want to do it on my own, or with someone I know. And also like, I just feel like it is a bit of a weird dynamic of like, hey, I'm paying you to be here. Like, I don't know. It feels like prostitution.
That is true.
But no, it's a cool idea. I had a friend who has used it in the past to get like a bunch of meetings with people that he wouldn't have been able to meet. So I think like, if you're trying to do something in a very specific career, especially with the amount of celebrities, like it could be interesting from like a networking perspective. I mean, it's kind of like intro in a different way.
But in person.
Yeah,
or I guess not
experiential.
All in person, experiential. That's cool. I've been like thinking a lot recently about like experiences broadly, because I realize it's like my favorite thing to spend money on is experiences and then homes when traveling. But I'm actually I don't have as much of an issue with like my primary home being like whatever. But like when I'm traveling, I really like getting nice Airbnbs and like nice homes. But I was thinking about like the experience one a lot, and like we've been like talking about like getting our like we want to get our gun license and I want to get my pilot's license, and I was just like I really want to in like going into 2024 I want to like make sure I plan a lot of this stuff into my year, because otherwise you just go through a whole life without like getting anything done or like doing any of the things. But and actually Jesse Itzler has this idea of like this big ass calendar where he has a whole 12-month calendar that's like probably like 10 feet by 10 feet. And the way he thinks about it is like, I plan my life, and like the way he describes life is like the things that he wants to do before. And then he's like, the rest of life fits in. But he's like, if you just let your life go, like trying to fit shit in doesn't work. And so he puts these like rocks. I guess you can like even like think back to like that other like analogy of like, if you want to fill a jar, you put like the big rocks in first, you put the smaller rocks and then you put the sand, and like you can put it all in. But if you put the sand in first, then you'll never fit the big rocks in. And so I want to do, that's something I was like really top of mind this year for me, is like I want to like be like by January 1st, I should have all of my flight lessons planned out. I should know when they are so that there's not an issue, near the end of the year being like, oh, I never found the time. It's like, no, just put them in and I'm going to go and do that.
I like that.
So yeah, that's something I want to do.
Did you buy the calendar?
No, I haven't. I'll probably order it.
I'll buy the calendar.
We're gonna do like a trip in January together. Maybe we'll have a calendar party.
Yes.
Fill up the calendar.
At the airport.
Was there any is there any specific thing that you've always wanted to do, like experience wise, that you haven't done?
No, I don't think the only thing that's in my head from when I was a kid was, I mean, I did do it, was just like, I just remember being a kid and being like, I want to go to Australia. It seems cool. It's so far away.
You're forgetting one. There's one that you want to do.
Really?
Yeah. It's at a ski resort.
Yes. Oh my God, we have to do that.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to, since I was a kid, rent out a ski resort for a day or whatever, a hill, get all my friends together, have a paintball match on the ski hill, be able to like get on the chairlift and like
shoot down,
skiing, or
capture
like,
the flag.
You're skiing down and you're shooting guys on the chairlift. Kind of like the old GoldenEye that's in a ski resort. I don't know if you ever played that.
No, I've never played GoldenEye.
Anyway, yeah, I think that would be the most amazing day ever.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, we got to find
a ski resort that's down to give us it for a day.
Yeah,
I wonder how much it costs.
Paint is the problem.
Do you think that's the biggest issue? Because you can definitely get.
I mean, the snow will melt.
Yeah, the snow will melt. So it's no, but I'm saying like you can get paintballs that are biodegradable. So it's like they probably would just like melt in the snow. I feel like that's the hardest part of the thing.
100% bookable.
100% bookable.
You need
I wonder how much it costs.
You need a lot of people.
It's got to be like 150 grand, I bet.
Maybe less.
I mean, it depends on where it is. Like maybe there's like a ski hill in Argentina but then you got to like fly everybody to Argentina.
I don't know about that, but
what do you mean, dude?
They're hot in Argentina,
dude. You're retarded, dude.
They're skiing in Argentina.
I've been telling you I've wanted to go to Argentina for like. I was even sending when we were talking about doing this trip together. I was sending you like Argentinian hunting trips that we could go on. Dude, Patagonia is in Argentina, which is like some of like the most like beautiful snow-capped mountains in the entire world with beautiful lakes.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I've been sending you photos. You don't reply back. All right. I think that was a good place to cut this one off.
Yeah.
This has been this episode done this week. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening.
Yeah.
We're starting to post clips on TikTok, so definitely engage with those. Give Daddy some juice, and we'll see you next week.